Hey guys, I'm Nell. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book haul for you all. I have a lot of books in this book haul because I've low-key been going crazy this summer with buying books and also low-key buying makeup and other stuff. So if you're interested in seeing what makeup I've been buying this summer, just, let me know in the comments. But this is going to be a book haul. So our first three books are books I got from an independent local bookstore where I live. I'm not going to tell you which one because I don't want to be doxxed, obviously. The first one is Sylvia Plath's short story, Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom. I don't know a ton about it. I'm a big fan of Sylvia Plath, though. I read The Bell Jar. It's one of my favorite books. So, really excited to read this one. On the back it says, newly discovered, never before seen story by Sylvia Plath. Written while Sylvia Plath was a student at Smith College in 1952, Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom tells the story of a young woman's fateful train journey. Plath's dark tale of female agency and independence, written not long after herself left home, grapples with mortality in motion. Seems pretty good. Very excited to read it. I love having a physical short story. I think that's so fun. Like, just a single short story. I have another one, actually. I have one of from Faber Books or Faber Press, whatever it's called, one of Sally Rooney's short stories as a book, and I love it. I think it's so fun. Next we have I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman with an afterword by Sophie McIntosh. This is a classic from my understanding. Yeah, it says on the back in print for the first time since 1997. Very excited to read this one. From my understanding, it's dystopian, it's feminist, it's creepy, really up my alley. I'll read you the back. Deep underground, 39 women live imprisoned in a cage. Watched over by guards, the women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, only a vague recollection of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night and numberless years pass, a young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone and outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape and survival in a strange world that awaits them above ground. So, sounds really, really interesting. I cannot wait to read it. If you hear little footsteps, that's my dog, who made an appearance in my last video. Agatha, what you do? Agatha, come here. You guys want to see Ag? I'll show you Ag again. Ag, come here. This is my puppy. She's so little. Okay. Wanna sit? The next book I got at the independent bookstore, which there'll be more later, but this is just the ones that I all bought all together. Poison for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. I've never read this. I actually prefer paperback books, but I'm not sure if this book came in paperback. They didn't have it at the bookstore. They only had it in hardcover, so I bought it. I really want to read all of Lemony Snicket's books. The real name, I don't really care about reading the books he published under his real name, Daniel Handler. It's mostly it's like a different aesthetic, so I just don't care about that aesthetic as much. It's mostly YA, less creepy. His Lemony Snicket books are mostly creepy middle grade, and so that interests me more than classic YA, not classic, but stereotypical YA. So I'm not really sure what this one's about. I just know, it's in the Lemony Snicket universe, so it should be a little creepy, a little spooky. I'll read the front flap. In the years since this publishing house was founded, we have worked with an array of wondrous authors who have brought illuminating clarity to our bewildering world. Now, instead, we bring you Lemony Snicket. Over the course of his long and suspicious career, Mr. Snicket has investigated many things, including villainy, treachery, conspiracy, ennui, and a very various suspicious fires. In this book, he is investigating his own death. Poison for Breakfast is a different sort of book than the others we have published, and from others you may have read. It is different than the other books Mr. Snicket has written, and it could be said to be a book of philosophy, something almost no one likes. But it is also a mystery, and many people claim to like those. Certainly, Mr. Snicket didn't relish in the dreadful task of solving it, but he had no choice. It was put right in front of him, right there on his plate. So that sounds good. This sounds very interesting. I just really like Lemony Snicket's writing, like the specific aesthetic. I haven't read any books that Daniel Handler has published as Daniel Handler, so I don't. My dog is sniffing the book. Yeah, does it smell good? So those are the first 3 books that I got from an independent bookstore. These next 3 books I got at my local Barnes & Noble. Still supporting, in physical bookstores, but, it's a Barnes & Noble, so it's a little, So the first book is The Princess of 72nd Street by Elaine Croft, with an introduction by Melissa Broder. I am not super familiar with this book. However, I love Melissa Broder's writing, and Olivia Gatwood blurbed it, and I love Olivia Gatwood's writing, so it comes, with high recommendations. And also, this cover is gorgeous. I usually hate when people say that about book covers, because I'm like, no, it's not. It's kind of fugly, to be honest. But I really do love this book cover. I think it's really cool. Read you the back. Ellen has 2 lives. A single artist living alone in New York's Upper West Side in the 1970s, she periodically descends into episodes of what she calls radiances. While under the influence of radiance, she becomes the Princess Esmeralda, and West 72nd Street becomes the kingdom over which she rules. I realized I'm covering my face. I don't know if that's interesting. Life as Esmeralda is colorful, glorious, and a liberating experience for Ellen, who, despite the chaos and stigma these episodes can bring, relishes the respite from the confines of the everyday. And yet those around her, particularly the men in her life, are threatened by the incarnation as Esmeralda and by the freedom that it gives her. In what would turn out to be her final published work, Elaine Croft tackles mental health and female agency in this utterly original, witty, and inventive novel. Provocative at the time of its publication in 1979, and through its iconoclast, The Princess of 72nd Street is a remarkable portrait of an unforgettable woman. I'm really excited to read this. It sounds really cool. So I'm very excited to read it, as I already said. Next, we have Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi. I've read 2 other books by her, Emergency Contact and Permanent Record, and I loved both of those. I thought they were great. So I'm really excited to read this one. I describe Mary H.K. Choi's books as like in between YA and adult. Like, I wouldn't call it like... It's like YA for when you're aging out of YA, is what I'd say. And they're really good. They're like about college students, or, college age people. So I really think that it's a perfect time. It's perfect to read it when you're like, college age. When you're like, you're done reading YA, it's mostly written for like younger people than you, but it's like you still want to read books of authors it's... Anyway, I'll read the back. Jane and June are nothing alike. June is 3 years older, a classic firstborn narc with a vile finance job and a soulless apartment, according to Jane. Jane, on the other hand, is emotionally stunted, self-obsessed crybaby who lives in squalor and has egregious taste in men, who needs to get her ass to class. June's words. Once thick as thieves, these sisters who moved from Seoul to San Antonio and finally New York don't want anything to do with each other, until June gets cancer and Jane becomes the only one who can help her. Flung together by sickness and bound by family secrets, will the sisters learn more about themselves and each other than they're willing to confront. So this sounds really good. I'm excited to read it. The last book I got from Barnes & Noble is Safety Through Solidarity, A Radical Guide to Fighting Anti-Semitism by Shane Burley and Ben Lorber. I'm really interested in this book. It's blurbed by some great people. It's blurbed by Peter Breinhart and Talia Levine. I don't know how she pronounces that. I'm really excited to read this one. As I mentioned in my previous book haul, I believe I mentioned this, that I am Jewish, but I'm a leftist, and that comes with a lot of, misunderstandings about different things. And so I'll read you the back. A progressive intersectional approach to the vital question, what can we do about anti-Semitism? Anti-Semitism is on the rise, from synagogue shootings by white supremacists to Christian nationalist politicians pushing George Soros conspiracy theories. Authoritarian movements are skyrocketing. By spreading division and fear, they put Jews, along with other marginalized groups, and multiracial democracy itself at risk. Meanwhile, debates around anti-Semitism in Israel-Palestine have become more high stakes than ever. How do we stand in solidarity with Palestinians in the demand for freedom, justice, and equality while rejecting anti-Semitism and resisting those who seek to conflate the two? How do we forge the coalitions across communities that we need in order to overcome the politics of division and fear? Using history, analysis, and interviews with leaders, activists Shane Burley and Ben Lorber help us break the current impasse to understand how anti-Semitism works and how to build true safety through solidarity for Jews and all people. And I was really surprised they had this at my local Barnes & Noble, because it feels a little radical for Barnes & Noble, if I do say so myself. And I think if people realized it was being sold at Barnes & Noble, they would make some mean calls. But they don't, and I got to buy it, which is very exciting. So next are 3 more books that I got from my local, sorry, itched my nose, from my local bookstore near where I live. It's actually not the one where I live. I have a different local bookstore where I live, but this is the local bookstore near my job. But if you made it this far into the video, I don't think you give a shit. First, I have Slow Days, Fast Company, The World, The Flesh, and LA by Eve Babbitt. I know Eve Babbitt is like kind of problematic, but apparently her books are really good, and she's dead, from my understanding. So I think not supporting problematic people while they're alive is really important, but I think if someone's dead in the dirt, it like does not matter. Low-key. Like, who's, like, their family's getting the money who may not be as problematic as they were, so it's like a whole thing, so I'll read you the back. No one burned hotter than Eve Babbitt, possessing skin, the radiant, its own kind of moral laws, spectacular teeth, and a figure that was the stuff of legend. She seduced seemingly everyone who was in Los Angeles for a long stretch of the 1960s and 70s. One man proved elusive, however, and so Babbitt did what she did best. She wrote him a book. Slow Days, Fast Company is a full-fledged, full-bodied evocation of a bygone Southern California that far exceeds its mash note premise. In 10 sun-baked Santa Ana windswept sketches, Babbitt recreates a Los Angeles of movie stars distraught over their success, socialites on 3-day drug binges, holed up in the Chateau Marmont, soap opera actors worried that tomorrow's script will kill them off, Italian femme fatales even more fatal than Babbitt's, fatal. And she even leaves LA now and then, spending an afternoon at the house of flawless Orange County suburbanites, a day among the grape pickers in this. Sorry, my dog is like playing with toys behind the camera, and that really distracted me. Grape pickers of the Central Valley, a weekend in Palm Springs where her dreams of romance fizzle and her only solace is Virginia Woolf. In the end, it doesn't matter if Babbitt ever gets the guy. She seduces us. So, sounds pretty interesting. I have another Babbitt's book. It's up there. Sex and Rage. But I have not read that one as well. I really need to get on it. I feel like everyone has read Babbitt's but me, so I really got to get on that. Next, we have Death Valley by Melissa Broder. I am really excited to read this. I have not read it yet, obviously, but I love Melissa Broder's writing, so I'm excited to read it. I'll read it. The back. In Melissa Broder's astounding new novel, a woman arrives at a Best Western seeking respite from an emptiness that plagues her. She has fled the desert to escape a cloud of sorrow, for both her dying father and a husband whose illness is worsening. Hiking a sun-scorched trail, the narrator encounters a towering cactus whose size and shape mean it could not exist in California. Yet the cactus is there, with a gash through its side that beckons like a familiar door. So she enters it. What awaits her within this mystical succulent sets her on a journey at once desolate and rich, hilarious and poignant. This is Melissa Broder and her most imaginative and universal. This is Death Valley. Very excited for this one. The last book, is this the last book I got from the used bookstore? It might be. I can't, not the used bookstore, the independent bookstore. How has this copy got so beat up? It's been sitting in my room. Whatever. This is Yiddish Folktales with a snazzy cover. I love this cover. I think it's so cool. Okay, I'll read you the front. It has a little blurb. Filled with princesses and witches, dibbiks, and wonder-working rebbies. I always forget how to pronounce that. Like rabbis, basically. The 200 tales that make up this delightful compendium were gathered during the 1920s and 30s by ethnographers in small towns and villages in Eastern Europe. Collected from people of all walks of life, they include parables and allegories about luck and wisdom, tales of magic and wonder, poignant encounters between rabbis and their disciples, and stories whose only purpose is to entertain. Long after the culture that produced them tragically disappeared, these enchanting Yiddish folktales continue to work their magic today. Edited by Beatrice Silverman Weinreich, translated by Leonard Wolf. Oh, the editor passed away. She passed away in 2008. But she was a research associate at YIVO. Which, is that pronounced YIVO or YIVO? Someone let me know in the comments, please. I don't know. I love Yiddish. I talked about this in my last book haul. I love Yiddish. I want to learn it so bad. I love being Jewish. I love Yiddish culture. I love being Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi, for those who don't know, is like my ethnicity. It's European Jewry, basically. There are different types if you want to look into it. I can do a video on it if anyone's interested. I know a little bit about other ones. But, oh god, it's so big. It's so beefy. It's so beefy. Look at this. And, god, I'm so excited. I love Yiddish. Next, we have 2 Sapphic books I bought online from Thrift Books. They're both by Lillian Faderman. I've read one of Lillian Faderman's book in college. Which one did I read by her? Like, LGBT social movements or something, is the book I read by her in college for one of my classes, and I loved it. I thought her writing was so understandable for, like, complex history, and I'm really excited to read these 2 books. It is Surpassing the Love of Men, Romantic Friendship and Love Between Women from the Renaissance to the Present, with a new introduction by the author, and I'll read you the back. This classic cultural history draws on a rich variety of sources, from the writings of Casanova, I can read, I promise, Casanova and Henry James, to Ladies' Home Journal and Adrienne Rich. Love Adrienne Rich. I read her also in undergrad. Along with trial records, love letters, pornography, and more, Lillian Faderman vividly illustrates the changing status of romantic friendship, the elusive link between female same-sex love, and shifting theories on female sexuality, and how nascent, I don't know that word, feminist values have always played a role in women's passions for one another and in men's reactions to them. From revolution, but it's like not revolution, it's spelled with like a U, whatever, to ridicule to admiration. Hailed by the New York Times as a welcome and needed history, this quietly revolutionary book interweaves forgotten and ignored strands of history in unexpected new ways. No one, man or woman, will finish it with his or her sensibilities unchanged. So exciting. And then the next book by Lillian Faderman is Odd Girls and Twilight Lovers, A History of Lesbian Life in the 20th Century America. As Lillian Faderman writes, there are no constants with regards to lesbianism, except that lesbians prefer women. In this groundbreaking book, she reclaims the history of lesbian life in the 20th century America, tracing the evolution of lesbian identity in some cultures, from early networks to more recent diverse lifestyles. She draws from journals, unpublished manuscripts, songs, media accounts, novels, medical literature, pop culture artifacts, and oral histories by lesbians of all ages and backgrounds, uncovering a narrative of uncommon depth and originality. I also love this cover. I think this cover is really cool. That's bag 2. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have literally three bags like this of books. So that's the end of bag 2. If I said earlier in the video that was all the books from the independent bookstore, I lied. I've In the Form of a Question The Joys and Rewards of a Curious Life by Amy Schneider, who is the trans woman who like beat everyone at Jeopardy. Love it. Girl power. Started reading it on my phone, like a digital version through Libby, the library app, and there's a lot of footnotes in this, and I found just reading the footnotes to be excruciatingly difficult while trying to read the book, so I decided to get my hands on a physical copy, and I got it from my local local independent bookstore, which is very slay and cool. We love supporting independent bookstores. And they got me a paperback copy, which I didn't even know was like available yet. Like I fully didn't realize paperback copies of this book were available yet. I'm not even sure they're supposed to be. But they got me one, which is really cool. So that's very exciting. I forgot to read you the back of this book. Silly me. Who is Amy Schneider? In 8th grade, Amy Schneider was voted most likely to appear on Jeopardy by her classmates. Decades later, this trailblazer finally got her chance. Not only did she walk away with $1.3 million while captivating the world with her impressive 40-game winning streak, but she made history and won an even greater prize: the joy of being herself on national television and leading the way for openly queer and transgender people around the world. Now she shares her singular journey that led to becoming an unlikely icon and hero to millions. Her superpowers, boundless curiosity, and fearless questioning of the world. In the Form of a Question, explores some innumerable topics that have fascinated Amy throughout her life. Books and music, tarot and astrology, popular culture, computers, sex and relationships, but they all share the same purpose: to illustrate and celebrate the results of a lifetime asking, why? That seems really cool. I can't wait to restart this book and read all of it, because she seems like a really cool person. I love supporting sapphic women. I'm pretty sure she's sapphic. I mean, she had a wife. So that's my understanding. But I love supporting LGBT women. We love LGBT women. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. The last book I got from my local independent bookstore is also a queer sapphic book. Love that. Could you tell I bought most of these during Pride Month and also July? But, July is just Pride Month Part 2. This is a classic, and I got it on the recommendation of another YouTuber. They didn't personally tell me, they just talked about it in their YouTube video. They were like, guys, I think this is a great classic book. And I was like, oh my god, I have a really similar name to the author. I love that. I love when authors are named Nell. I think that's so cool. It's because Nell is such an uncommon name. I'll read you the back now. Oh, this is called Passing by Nella Larson, by the way. I realized I forgot to say that. With an introduction by Caitlin Greenidge. Irene Redfield is living an inevitable life with her husband and children in the thriving African-American enclave in 1920s Harlem. That is, until she runs to her childhood friend, Claire Kendry. Since they last saw each other, Claire, who is similarly light-skinned, has been passing, in quotes, as a white woman and is married to a racist man who does not know her true identity. Irene is fascinated and repulsed by Claire's dangerous secret. In turn, Claire yearns for Irene's sense of ease and security in her blackness, which Claire gave up in pursuit of a more advantageous life and can never embrace again. Claire begins to insert herself and her deception into Irene's stable existence, and their complex relationship sets off chains of events that dynamically alters both women forever. In this psychologically gripping novel, Nella Larson explores blurriness of race, sacrifice, alienation, and desire that defined her own experience as a woman of mixed race, issues that still powerfully resonate today. Ultimately, Larson forces us to consider whether we can ever truly choose who we are. I'm really excited to read this one. I think the cover on this one's really cool as well. This is what the cover looks like. I got a lot of books with really cool covers recently, I'd say. The next book I got, I actually didn't pay for. I got for free because I'm borrowing it from my grandma. It's Middlesex by Jeffrey... I always forget how to pronounce his last name. Jeffrey Eugenides. I'm butchering his name. Who cares? I want to read The Virgin Suicide so bad, but she didn't have a copy of that. But you know what she did have a copy of? Middlesex. And so I'm borrowing my grandma's copy of Middlesex. But I'm low-key stealing it because I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading it. So, I will read you the back now. Again, another LGBT book. I mean, I think it counts as LGBT. I think intersex people count as LGBT. And if you don't, take it up with yourself. I'm inclusive. I don't know what I'm saying. Middlesex tells the breathtaking story of Calliope Stephanades and 3 generations of Greek-American Stephanades family who travel from a teeny village overlooking Mount Olympus in Asia Minor to Prohibition-era Detroit, witnessing its glory days as the Motor City and the race riots of 1967 before they move out to the tree-lined streets of suburban Grosse Pointe, Michigan. To understand why Calliope is not like other girls, that's a hilarious phrase, I'm sorry, she has to uncover a guilty family secret and the astonishing genetic history that turns Callie into Cal, and one of the most audacious and wonderful narrations in contemporary fiction. Lyrical and thrilling, Middlesex is an enthralling reinvention of the American epic. So excited to read it. The next books I got were I did not pay for, again. I got these as a gift from my mom's friend. He wanted to... we had talked about Kurt Vonnegut and how I haven't read any Kurt Vonnegut yet, and he really loves Kurt Vonnegut, so he bought me some Kurt Vonnegut. Technically, one of these is for my brother, but my brother doesn't really like having physical books anymore. He's minimalist about that, while I am clearly not. So, I got Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. My dog is playing with her toys upstairs, if you hear that racket. Cat's Cradle is Kurt Vonnegut's satirical commentary on modern man and his madness. An apocalyptic tale of this planet's ultimate fate. It features... I'm not reading that slur, that's a slur. It features a little person as the protagonist, a complete original theology created by a calypso singer, and a vision of the future that is at once fatalistic and funny. A book that left an undeniable mark on an entire generation of readers. Cat's Cradle is one of the 20th century's most important works, and Vonnegut at his very best. Exciting. And then the other Vonnegut I have is Slaughterhouse-Five. Slaughterhouse-Five, an American classic, is one of the world's greatest anti-war books. Centering on the infamous firebombing of Dresden, Billy Pilgrim's Odyssey through time reflects the mythic journey of our own fractured lives as we search for meaning of what we fear most. Next, we have two more books that I did buy. I bought these at an independent bookstore in New York City. I don't remember the name of it. It's like a chain independent bookstore. It's not the Strand. It's McNally's, I think it's called. I can't remember, though. I got It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis. I got the pocket edition, which I think is so cool. I love how, like, compact it is. I'll read you the back. A cautionary tale about the fragility of democracy, It Can't Happen Here, is an alarming, eerily timeless look at how fascism takes hold in America. Written during the Great Depression, when the country was largely oblivious to Hitler's aggression, it juxtaposes sharp political satire with the chilling realistic rise of a president who becomes a dictator to save the nation from welfare cheats, sex, crime, and a liberal press. Called A Message to Thinking Americans by the Springfield Republican when it was published in 1935, It Can't Happen Here is a shockingly present novel that remains fresh and contemporary as today's news. Includes an introduction by Michael Meyer and an afterword by Gary Crenelhorst. I'm really excited to read this one. I've heard a lot of good things about it. And the last book that I bought is The Faggots and Their Friends Between Revolutions. I want to say that I am comfortable saying that word because I am gay. Anyway, I'm not just saying slurs out here. It's by Larry Mitchell, illustrated by Ned Asta. There isn't like a traditional blurb on the back. It's just like there's no like, you know, synopsis. It's just like blurb quotes. But I'll read one of them. It's 1977. The faggots, the women, the fairies, and the queens have each other for love, sex, and inspiration. They have the natural world, music, the body, feelings, crannies of cities, which to be, believe, touch, dance, dream, fucking grow. This was the liberation vision of Larry Mitchell from another time, another consciousness. With this new edition of Faggots and Their Friends, we can remember the collectivity of fun and pleasure in the necessary faith of silly hope as part of our legacy and wish for survival. And that's a quote by Sarah Schulman. So I'm very excited to read this. I think it's really important to read classic queer literature, especially in this time period where literature, and especially queer literature, is getting erased. And the last book I have, I did not buy myself. It's a gift from my father. It is the Selected Poems of Anne Sexton, edited with an introduction by Diane Wood Middlebrook and Diane Hume George. I would have not bought this book for myself because I know that Anne Sexton molested her daughters, but apparently she's a really good poet, so I am excited to read it. And she's dead. As I said earlier in this video, she's dead. So, and my dad bought it for me, so what are we gonna do? You know, I'm not gonna return it. My dad bought it for me. I'll read you the back. This selection, which draws from Anne Sexton's 10 published volumes of poems, as well as from a representative early and last work, is the ideal introduction to a great American poet. This is all the books I got. Should I try to hold like a bunch of them in frame? Is that what I should try to do now? Okay, give me a sec. So this is me and all the books. Look how many books this is. That's a lot of books. So thank you so much for coming to my book haul. I know this was a lot. It was a lot. Thank you so much for coming from me and my books. See you next time I eventually upload. Love you, bye.